I have an actual clipboard that I taped around fairly coarse sandpaper to, and I know that I need to take this edge down a little bit, so I'm going to sand this back and forth with a little emphasis on sanding that way till it's flush. I don't want to go crazy and take too much off, because once we get the strings on, then we can either work on the nut slot height or filing down the back more. But for now, I just want to get the angle so it sits right on the neck. That way I am ready to go and start working on it once I get the strings and tuners on. Apply even pressure. And then you keep doing that and keep testing. It still had a little bit of rock. Bridge is glued on. It's hard to see, it's not showing up on the camera here. But when I clamped it on, there you go, I thought I had it all square, but it actually slid back a hair. The two fixes would be to heat this up, remove it, slide it back into position. I'm not going to do that. Or compensate the saddle. But first thing I'm going to do is string it up and see if it's actually off as far as intonation. And now that I sanded the nut down, let me get a good angle. I got it nice and flush to the neck. And flush to the fretboard. And next time I start sanding, it will be because I am lowering it for string height. Here are the tuning machine heads. And the kit comes with pretty nice ones. There is, like that says LD left design, I'm assuming these ones say right. And you want to pay attention to that. You can put the rights on the lefts, lefts on the rights. But the way the knob turns will be the wrong direction. It'll still tune, it's just when you go to tune your other guitars or ukuleles, it'll go the opposite direction. So pay attention to that. When tuning these washers, hopefully it shows they have a rounded crown to them. So you want to make sure to put them down so the crown is facing up. That way when you tighten it, it kind of acts almost like a lock washer to a certain degree. I have a 10mm socket. And I'm going to start with the left one because it was easy to grab. And a 10mm socket, just make sure that it's deep enough to snug it up against the wood. So what I do is I just get it to where it just hits, and just finger tight for now because we still have to put holes in the back so we could put the little screws. Pay attention to which way the washers are facing. Now we flip it over and put the holes in. It's time to line up the tuners before we start poking holes in the wood. You can use any straight edge, and you just want to twist these. There we go. Until they look right. And that would be nice and straight. I'm going to get a better straight edge. Get any sort of awl or dental pick, nail. You just want to start the hole. Try to get it as centered as you can. Takes care of those two. And this needs to come down. That needs to go up. That looks good. You could drill a pilot. It's pretty soft wood. It doesn't take a lot of torque. And the screw is there really to keep the whole machine from spinning. So it doesn't need to be cranked down tight, just to where it hits, and quarter turn should be enough. Just make sure the screws sit and flush against it, and you are good to go. And the process is the same for the next two. And then we flip it over, recheck the tightness. Some people will leave these stickers on forever. I guess I'm not one. Although I should check the back of my other ukuleles, because I have no clue if I did or didn't. I just installed the two outside strings, and as you can see, the spacing right to left is pretty good along the fretboard. And now I'm going to have to, of course, glue this in better. Get the height right here, and then I'll also check the string height down here. But what I'm really curious about is if I got the bridge in the proper position to intonate well. And we will soon find out. Nylon strings take a long time to stretch in. So there we are, G in the 12th fret. Should be the same at the 12th. So we're a little flat, which means I need to file the bridge forward to make it shorter. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Oh, it'd be good if I hit the right fret. 5, 7, 10, 11, 12. It's not bad, it's a little flat. Let's check the A string. Get that out of my way. Well, it looks like my bridge sliding worked out to my advantage. And once I get the strings I want out there, I can double check, and once I get this glued into place, I'll check again. That was a pretty fortunate mistake. Worked out to my advantage. That doesn't happen in life much. bottom of the string. Twist it underneath. I like to get a decent distance, and I like to press it against the body. And then you snug tight. There we go. And these strings aren't going to be staying on. I'm using these for setup reasons because I have some nicer ones coming in. Slide it through the tuner. Oh, what I do is I kind of pull it taut, tight, taut, whatever, and then I just bring it back about 1 fret worth, and I put my thumb there. And when I start tightening, first thing I do is put the string under, and when it wraps around again, I'll make sure this lead is on top of the string. And I will just kind of do that. There we go. And that helps to lock the string because it's in between the lines, kind of squeezes it together. And these strings I'm using these are what came with the kit, and they're really not the greatest. They definitely work and are loud enough and will sound nice. But like a guitarist, any stringed instrument person, everybody's always got their preferences. So now I have it semi-tuned, not really, but tensioned. And now I'm going to check with some feeler gauges. A good starting point is 20 thousandths between the first fret and the string. Most of my other ukes I have somewhere around the 17, 18. But if I can get it to 20, I will feel pretty good about that. You want it to slide under comfortably, and you want it to just kiss the string. Like you can see how much room I have there. You could totally play it like that. I'm sure people build them, but when the spacing is too high, when you fret it, it kind of pulls the string out of tune a hair. Usually not enough to really make that much of a difference, because these are nylon strings on most ukuleles or fluorocarbon strings. They have a lot of flex to them. So what I'm going to do is pull the nut off, sand it, keep dropping it down lower and lower till I get the action where I would like. Now I have my string action gauge. It comes in the decimal American style or metric. I actually prefer the metric. And at the 12th fret, I like to have it somewhere like 2 2.25, anywhere between 2.25 and 2.25, 2.5. There you go. And believe it or not, I don't even have to adjust the height because this has got really good action. So the bridge down at this end, I won't even have to adjust it. So that just means that I got my neck angle, all the sanding I did in the neck angle ended up working out great. That needs to be dropped. I'll pull that out and start sanding it down. I've been sanding and making sure the angle of the nut all sits right. Here's my 18, 19, and 20 feeler gauges. I'm shooting for 20, 17 to 20. 20 just lifts the string. 19. So I look to be around 17 on the G string, and you can also just see the string bounce off. In other words, it's not laying flat on it. It's got some room. And the A string, well, it's my 20. I guess we'll start with the 19. Slides right in there without moving the string. Where'd my 20 go? Can't be far. Just kisses the 20. So we are in good shape. I'm going to leave it like that. And if I get new strings, we can always lower it at the nut slot. Time to glue the nut into place. I'm happy with the nut slots and height. I'm all within the specs that I like to play at, and that's what they are, because if you look online, you'll find people giving you all sorts of different measurements. So I'm loosening the strings because I need them out of my way. I won't take them off all the way. I'll end up taping them underneath. Don't even need to tape them. They should sit right there good. Okay. I like to stick just a dab of glue somewhere in the center. You can use crazy glue. A lot of people do. I tend to use a dab of wood glue. I think it breaks free a little easier. I don't know if that's true, but it's just been what I've been using. And I'm just going to use, because I really just need just a drip. And I do it against the back of the fretboard and not on the neck, because I'm not exactly sure why. I just know that I've seen other people do that. Just a little. We don't need a lot of glue to squeeze out. Plus the wood glue gives you a little bit more working time, so you can position it and slide it where you need it. Make sure it's flush. And there's no real need to clamp it or tie it unless you feel you're going to bang it around. And I'm just checking for square. And making sure it's centered. I can always take it off later. These things should be able to pop out pretty easily. And we'll let it sit there for about an hour and it should stick in place. I'm going to put some side fret markers. I'm going to put them on the 5th, 7th, 10th, and 12th. And I've never found a great way to learn how to center them. So I just kind of get a nice awl or prick punch or something, and I eyeball the center of the fretboard, and then I just make a mark so I can find it later. So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. That looks good to me. I put a piece of tape as a guide because you don't really need that much of a hole. I mean, I want it deep enough so when I put it in and glue it, when I go to cut it, it doesn't pop out. I will probably use some sort of crazy glue. I might use wood glue. I haven't decided yet. And you want to make sure that you get it square as possible. Okay. And we can see if I need a bigger drill bit. This is what I'm using. It comes with the kit. And truth of the matter is, you can use little wooden dowels. I have that in the past. Perfect. And I'm not even sure what size drill bit it is. It's just the smallest one I can find. So I will continue, and the depth seems fine where I had my tape set up. Just want to get just a little dab. And a flush cut anything is ideal. I don't necessarily have that, but I have this, and then I will have to sand it down. Once it dries, and I'm just going to clean off the residual glue, squeeze out. I'll let it dry for an hour, and then I will sand them down, hopefully without destroying too much of the finish, although on the sides, not a big deal. It'll be easy to cover up and make beautiful again. I don't have a super fine file. This is about as fine as I get. I'm just going to try to be very careful to not scar the wood too much. And if I do, I know that I could sand it, refinish it. It won't be heartbreaking to me. That's the great thing with wood in general. It's almost always repairable, or at least fixable to a point where you can make it look decent. I'm going to get it pretty flush. And I think I'm going to tape off the neck area. And I will get some tape to do that. Now if I have to finish anything, unless I eat through the tape, it'll only have to be the fretboard area. a different file. It's a little bit finer, so there we go. And as you can see right there, a little bit of finishing to do. I think I might just go down into the wood just to make sure it's flush and deal with whatever consequences there are with that. I just don't want to feel it when I'm playing. Oh, like that. I'm just going to line up this tape as good as I can. And break out a little true oil. Make sure I got nothing running. Well, it looks good. I use a dry part of this rag. I've got the nut height and saddle height in very good shape. Bridge position worked out. But now I have a trusty marker, and I'm just going to test each fret to see if any of them are high. And what will happen is the string will buzz if it's right there. So that is this fret here is a little high. Put a little mark there. Same fret, good. Same fret. Not shabby. Now I know that it's that fret needs to be sanded down I'm looking to see if maybe I can just tap it down, but the truth of the matter is it looks like it's all the way in. So I will loosen up the strings, and I will get my crowning file and start going over it until we get the height we need. I'll remove this for now. I have just a data card or plastic card. I don't have an actual fret rocker, which is something shaped similar, and you're able to see if the frets are level, and if they're not, the card will rock, like right there. It's got a little bit of a rock right there. But down here, nice and flush. So I know I need to work on that area. Definitely up here. Crowning files aren't necessarily made to flatten the fret, but it's what I have. And there's three sides, three different angle files, so the blue one is the, where I put my finger on the top, is the correct radius for the size fret. But I use the one for the jumbo frets, hopefully, to flatten it. Still a little right there. Still a little there. Good, we're definitely getting there. Find the wide. This was a $9 crowning file on eBay, and most people hate it. Think it's cheap. That's why I bought it. Not because they hate it, because it was cheap. And it does function. All right. No rock. See up here, you just need to span 3 frets. Yeah, that looked like my only problem area. So let's tune her back up and try it again. All right, we're on semi-tune. And let's try it again. This one, the one next to it, which is a possibility that I brought that down too low. But that's not too bad. That should be an easy one. Take a few swipes at this one. It's easy to remember. It's at the body, and we should be pretty perfect. Soon find out. Let's turn this off. And I'm just going to loosen this string. And next project, build a neck block. Make working on stuff easier. And I'll just take a little very fine sandpaper and smoothen out the file area. If you don't polish the frets, it still works, but when you go to slide, it won't feel nice and slick and smooth. It'll actually feel like be grabby. You can usually tell a good guitar from a bad guitar on how the strings slide on the frets. If they feel greasy, polished frets, it's a nice feel. All right, let's try it again. I'm going to tune it up And that's an A. Okay. We made it. This is just an old card, an old credit card, something with a flat edge. Fret rockers themselves are not that expensive, like 10, 13 bucks. But you can make them. You just need a straight edge enough plastic card. Even your string height gauge will work for certain frets as long as it covers a 3-fret span. That way it'll rock off of it. And that's why I cut this one on angles, because this one here is good for down here, and then this angle is good for the tiny ones. It's cheap to do, and you can make a really crappy guitar play really nice if you just can level the frets. And once the frets are level, you're able to lower the action to make it manageable to play. This is the last video. I am pretty much done. There's a few things that need to be done. I've got some new strings. They're a little bit higher on fluorocarbon string versus straight nylon. I still need to, I sanded down the side fret markers, and they feel fairly smooth. I think I got a sanding block. I'm just going to kind of go over it a little bit and then retouch up with some True Oil. And then once that dries, I will restring it, play it a little, and consider it a done instrument. I'm very happy with how it came out. The few mistakes that happened didn't affect anything. The new strings will dictate that, because the nylon strings might intonate different than the fluorocarbons, but we'll see when we get there. Didn't use my string winder and take all the strings off. I want to keep them just in case. It'll be hard to pick up, but they're still sitting. I mean, if you're playing it, your thumb's on top, you don't even feel it, but with my fingers, I could still feel them just a hair high. So I have a fine sanding block, which will be nice because it'll help with the radius. Yeah, it'll help with the radius. And I will probably have to refinish that area and hopefully be able to blend it all in so it looks just as good as it does now. What I'm going to do is go get some tape, and I'll put it along the fretboard, maybe a hair back, and hopefully I can minimize how much damage I'm going to end up doing. bit of tape against the body. That way if I bump into it, I don't have to worry about it. Looks like the 10th fret. Take a damp sponge and just definitely made the side dots. Focus. Maybe back farther. There, that's about as focused as I'm going to get it with my cell phone, I guess. Let's try it back over here. But the dots don't look too shabby right now. And they feel smoother than when I started, and it really didn't take much sanding to do it. Fresh brand new block. That will make life easier. Fresh brand new $4 block. So a cheap one. Now I'm going to put such a light coat of True Oil on it. Just enough to redarken that area. And I'm going to, essentially, anything I put on, I'm going to kind of polish off because I want to make sure I didn't sand so far down that I feel that I was taking past the finish. I could have, but as you can tell, video doesn't show it. I'll pull the camera over. The fretboard is a darker wood, so even just putting in a very light coat does a lot. Oh yeah, the fret markers are shining now. It looks like this one might be a little off center, but by eye it doesn't look it, but on camera it does. But I eyeballed them. I'm pretty proud of that. I like to come around the bottom of the string, put the string in through the bottom, come here, wrap it behind, and then you cross the top of the loop, bring it down under. These are pretty thin strings, so I actually do it twice. If you ever care to look up a YouTube video on how to do it, some people do it twice, some people once. I like to press down into the corner and then pull it tight. I like to make sure the string actually comes past the edge. That way when you start playing it, it won't slip through. If you just wrapped it and it ends up coming off the top, a lot of times it will start sliding through on you. These strings don't stretch as far as the nylon ones, because I did the same thing on the nylon ones. I pull it back, I pull it taut over here, I slide it back a fret and hold it. That way I know I get enough winds on the tuner. With the nylon ones, they're so stretchy that yeah, they just keep loosening up. So I'm through the tuner once. I'll come back and I'll put this end through. Pull that snug a little. You can still see I got a lot of flap there. And then I'll start tightening. So what I'll do here is put the string under and then the next time around I'll make sure it stays on top, and that'll lock the string in place. Not quite up to pitch, but and the strings barely show up on the camera because they're kind of a clarish pink fluorocarbon, so they're like a fishing line. I'm twisting this one just to get the lead out of the way. This one I don't necessarily need to wrap it around because it's a fatter string. It doesn't slide through as easy. And I've never had an issue not doing it with this, not wrapping it around and back in on this string. This string, I will do it too, though. I'm holding my finger down so to make sure the string goes over the top of it. Yeah, the lead. Yeah. Let me get a clipper so I can make everything nice. I'm going to trim it just past the hole where this last string goes. That way I can slide it in under. And I have one more lead to get, but it's being a pain because it's tucked down and under. There we go. And then I'll re-loosen this and try to take the lead this way and push it under. That's the theory. So this one will come the opposite way. Under. I have to make sure I have enough. One. There we go, I got enough there. I should be able to tuck it under. So I'm going to end up loosening this one and trying to tuck it under. But for now, it's locking in, you know, almost all of those leads. But I'm going to leave them. And I will snip the edges and it'll look neat and clean. There we go. I'll start clipping these leads. I like to leave, I don't know, 1/2 inch or so. That way, in case I need to pull on to shorten the strings later on in life, I have room. There we go. There it is. Tuck it under, tuck it down here. Snip anything that's extra. That way when you're playing it, nothing gets in your way. So any of the excess leads, this is classical guitar strings, ukulele strings. The tie-down versions like this are a pain in the butt. They do have versions that come through and have a little ball end. It's kind of like molded plastic that just sits back here. That would be the Ernie Ball strings. There are much easier ways to do it, but this is how this bridge is made to done. It's made to tie like a classical guitar. They even make little beads that you string through and then just slide it through and the beads lock it in place. But there you go, all nice and tight and clean. And any of the leads like over here or down here, so they're not going to affect me or the playing. And I can see a lead right there that I didn't see until the camera was there, which is good. I like to leave, like I said, an inch. That way, if I ever have to pull it tighter, if I have too many winds, I can pull it through. And because on a ukulele, I don't need any more than, let's say, 3 winds around the tuner. So we're in good shape. Let me get it in tune, and then I'll play it a little.